All right, so it's 7:05. We're gonna go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining. I see we have two on. We had like five, and then it dropped. So it keeps going up and down from my perspective. I'm not honestly sure actually who's on, and I'm not sure if you all can see who's on or not. But we'll go ahead and get started. So the whole purpose of this webinar, if you can't hear me for whatever reason, you can definitely put it in the comments there. But the entire purpose of this webinar is, okay, I have a business idea, or I have an idea for a business, right? But will it work? So first we'll talk about, who the Height Effect is and what we do and who we help. And I hope you all can see it. If you can't see it, if there are any lighting issues, please just put your comments or put your questions or comments in the comment box, and then I can adjust it however we need to. But the part of with the Height Effect, our foundation is based on two principles, and those principles are education and enterprise. We truly mean that we want to come in and educate and actually teach people, right, the foundation of business and the foundation of business acumen, and to give them these business skills, as well as helping them build enterprises to be able to sustain themselves, right? So you always hear the phrase, or at least I do in the entrepreneurial world, that you can't get rich working a 9 to 5. And that's absolutely true. Not to say that money is the goal, but at the same time, having wealth is something that's very, very important to people. And, especially creating generational wealth to be able to benefit, your kids and your kids' kids and the generations that become after you. That's very, very crucial part. So that's why we say, hey, education and enterprise are the two things that lead to the sustainability, the long-term sustainability of communities. So what we are, and I have a laser on the point, but we're a consulting firm that is and entrepreneurs. So we help small businesses that are existing and that are currently existing. We help them with their processes. We help them manage projects. We help them with strategy. We help them get access to capital. We introduce them to capital, hone in on those business acumen skills. And also we work with entrepreneurs. So the purpose of this call is really for those people who, again, you want to validate your business model. So you have an existing business that may not be performing as it should. And then the second thing is for the people who have ideas, but don't know how to turn those ideas into real businesses, or don't know how to legitimize those businesses. One of the three things that we say, or the 3 points that we mention to a lot of people in our initial pitch or sales conversation, is structure, legitimize, grow. And what that means is that the Height Effect, we help companies literally structure their businesses, we help them legitimize their businesses, and we help them grow their businesses. We do that a bunch of different ways, and we'll kind of talk about a little of that later. So next is that we help our clients take cost-efficient steps towards building their businesses. So obviously, if you're starting a new business, and you're bootstrapping, you may not have the capital, you may not have the financing or the funding to be able to, go ahead and open up your building and hire staff and get all those different things that are necessary to run the business. But those are long-term things. So what we say is, hey, let's focus on what we can focus on now. How can we be creative and innovative now by employing guerrilla marketing strategies? So essentially non-traditional strategies. You market your business and get your product out to your target customer, your target audience. And the last thing of who we are and what the Height Effect is that, our clients become a part of a vast network of small business resources. Now, this is just the main resources that we work with on a pretty consistent basis. But the resources that we have range way beyond what you see here. Like, we have very specialized individuals and specialized companies that we work with, various types of strategic partnerships. We have people from a non-profit perspective that come in and are experts in that space. But again, so attorneys, we have small business and entrepreneur focused attorneys. One, I believe, is on G. Anthony Hall. So thank you for joining the call today. He actually helps out with the actual motel analysis, which is a product that we offer in this, I'll go over in just a little bit. Also, we work with accountants, CPAs, and accounting firms that work specifically with small businesses. We have relationships there. Financial resources. So this is the one question that I get asked a lot. I'm telling you, if I had a dime or penny for every time I was asked this question, we'd already be a millionaire. I would already be a millionaire and wouldn't be having to do this presentation. But it's all good. But in terms of the business funding, investors, professional financial planners, we have people to help you if you're an individual who may not have the credit score to secure a certain type of loan. We have relationships with different government organizations that have government funding or government grants, government funded programs or government backed programs. We have private institutions, so private lenders that can get you, some very, very good rates off of your own personal credit. So these are just some of the different, thank you, Joshua. But these are just some of the different financial resources that we have. And then lastly, marketing and PR experts. So our marketing and PR people specialize in digital and traditional marketing. All right. The reason that's important because you see like the print marketing. So you may see, a magazine or something, that type of advertising, or a billboard or something like that. Well, with our marketing individuals, they specialize in that as well as the digital side. So now that we're in the digital age of social media and everything being online, 80% of consumers shop online now. We have people who specialize in these areas. Also, we have website individuals as well as graphic designers and more. So I'm going to pause here and again just mention some of the people on the call that are from the team. So I believe Anthony Hall, Gabe Anthony Hall is on. So he is the attorney we've been working with for some time now. I've known him for well over a decade. But he is actually the individual, his firm rather, has been around for several years, first of all, but their firm is the one that handles the legal feasibility portion, the legal opinion of this analysis. So essentially, you'll have an attorney literally give you a legal opinion on the legal aspects of your business. Next, so that's from an affiliate perspective who we have on. We also have Josh, who, as I said earlier, we've just partnered with, had a big announcement today. So definitely go back and view that. Like I said, it was about 350 views, I think, last time I saw it, which was a few hours ago. But we just partnered with them. And Josh was head of Power Hub. And they're going to have a big graduation coming up for the first 25 students. So we're definitely excited about partnering with them. Next, from the immediate Height Effect team, we have Miko Luna on, who is the, and this is in no particular order, so no shade to any of the other core members that are on. But we have Miko Luna, who's the business consultant intern. And then also we have Anthony, who is the director of technology. And Anthony and I have been working here for several years. Anthony's actually the first full-time member of the Height Effect team. So now we'll go ahead and do this presentation. One, we want to outline the steps that you should take to validate your business model or business idea. We'll talk a little bit about what that means more specifically. But again, we want to lay out the steps because a lot of people have great ideas or even existing businesses that they have not validated. And I assure you, this is a process that has to occur over and over again throughout the life cycle of your business to help with the long-term sustainability of your business. So the last thing you want to do is get down the road and realize you didn't adapt or you weren't aware of your market. You didn't take whatever precautions there were to make your business sustainable. One of the most recent examples and biggest examples of that is Toys R Us. They're out of business. Toys R Us has been around since most of us, I know millennials, when we were kids and before then. And now all of a sudden they're gone. So it's that shows you no matter how much money you make as a business, how big the business gets, you have to always be innovating. You have to always be making the necessary changes to make your business sustainable long term, or competition will come in and will swallow you up. Happening with Amazon right now. So Jeff Bezos is killing it right now. He's also the richest man in modern history because of Amazon. The second thing we're going to do is help you increase the long-term sustainability of your business or your idea. So I kind of talked about that. So I'm going to give you the high-level outline. And then the third thing we'll do is we'll provide you with an outline to begin the evaluation of your business and its long-term sustainability. So for all of you joining, and if you register, we have to have your email address. We're going to send this presentation out after. And that way you'll be able to use some of the questions and some of the information that's on here to help you evaluate the long-term sustainability of your business. I'm moving some lights around if you all hear some noise. So my apologies. Okay, so what is a business model? A business model explains what products or services the business plans to manufacture and market and how it plans to do that. So including what expenses it will incur. So if you look at this graphic right over here on the left-hand side, you see the key activities, you see the value proposition, the customer relationships, customers, revenue, channels, key resources, costs, key partners. The business model is essentially the business. Give me just a second. Sorry, I'm turning on lights. I guess I'm trying to get it bright for you all so you can see it. But again, with the business model, this is how the business is functioning, how the business is operating, how the business is making money. All of these pieces that you see here on the left-hand side are what the business model is. And this is what we're doing is, again, we're evaluating this business model for long-term sustainability. And again, you can do that at the idea phase, and you should be repeating this as your business grows and as you're iterating. So the way we do this is through a process called the MOTL analysis, right? MOTL. And the T and the E is where the TEL come from. But what we look at is the market, the operational, the technical, and the legal aspects of your business. And we see, okay, are those things feasible? Meaning, are they capable of being done? Right? A lot of ideas sound great in the beginning. A lot of ideas, can last for periods of time. But without really, again, ensuring that you are paying attention to the long-term without looking at the feasibility over a consistent period of time and continuing to, again, change with the times, you could potentially, your business could go out of business. So that's why it's so important to understand, the capability of your idea. Is it capable of being done? Now with the market, so this is the most important part of the MOTL analysis. With this portion, this is oftentimes overlooked. A lot of people think, I have a great idea, nobody else is doing it, so I'm going to jump out there and do it. When the reality is nobody else is doing it for a reason. That's some of the questions you should be asking yourself. Okay, why aren't people in this market? Why, if there's a business here, or I don't see a business here, and I think this is a great idea, why hasn't that business been done yet? So those are some of the aspects that we want you to look at here. Here I have the breakdown. So understand, the market of your industry. So how big is the market that you're wanting to enter? Really understand numerically, empirically, how big that market is from a revenue perspective. What are the revenues like, and what does the growth look like in that market? So make sure that you're going into the right market. Is the market saturated? So does market saturation exist? Meaning, are there a ton of players in the market? And again, back to the point I was just making, if there are no players in the market, why? I would definitely ask yourself that question. Next, determine your target market. So who is going to be buying for you? This is one of the hardest parts to do and requires a lot of groundwork. It requires you to really get out there and make these calls and do what's called customer discovery to determine who is going to be buying for you. A lot of times we initially start off businesses and think, hey, this is who my target market is going to be. But the reality is the people that are your target market are not who you want to sell to. They are the people that are going to buy from you. The Height Effect, as an example, started off marketing towards a completely different audience. And then the people that began buying for us were from a completely different demographic than what we initially thought, which is great. All we did was we shifted and we catered towards them because we realized that those are the people that are going to keep us in business. But at the same time, you have to do that same thing for yourself and your business idea, right? Determining who are the people that are going to be buying from you. The next thing is, where are your customers located? So from a geographic perspective, are they all in a certain area? Are you in a town of 30,000 people and you're trying to do a business that needs 50,000 people a year to sign up for it to sustain, or 50,000 customers a year? If so, the specific geographic location. So know where your customers are, because that's going to determine a lot in terms of how you operate your business, where you operate your business, whether you do a brick and mortar versus an online business, an e-commerce business, etc. The next question asked is how many potential customers are in the target market. So this is where you are actually quantifying your market. You're saying this is the number of people, the specific number as close as possible of people that are in the market that I'm trying to target. All this information, again, it does take time to do this. And you have to continuously do it over and over again. But this information can be found online. It can be found, pretty much everything can be found online. But you can go online to different government websites. There's U.S. Census websites if you're doing B2B sales, B2C sales, business to customer, and you can look at information in terms of how big the market is from the people, from a family perspective. So how many families are here, for instance, or how many people at this specific age range live in this specific area. You can get that detailed into the information. Another thing, and I didn't put it on here, but I want you all to really, really think about, is disposable income. So disposable income is essentially the money that people use, as frivolously, I would say. So and that's why I don't have the exact definition, but look at the disposable income of the individuals that are in your target market. If you're talking about selling to actual people versus a business, right? So when you tell business to customer sales, you want to know what's the disposable income, because that's going to determine how many people in that specific geographic location are even going to buy from you. So if your disposable income is $50 a month, well, then you know you can't sell a product that's $100 a month. You probably can't even sell a product at all because that's not enough money to sustain. But if the disposable income is $3,000 a month in whatever specific area, then okay, you can operate in that area and probably have a better chance, a better likelihood of succeeding. Next is the competitors. So this is another piece too that people don't look at. A lot of times they look at it and say, okay, these are the big competitors that I see, the biggest one that are, in my direct market that are directly competing against me. So those are the competitors I have. When the reality is there are direct competitors and there are indirect competitors. So there are some people who service your clients, all right, that may not be in direct competition with you that you may need to take into consideration. There are also people that are in direct competition with you, that service that do very similar or exact same things you do. And then the other part of that is the companies that are substitutes to yours, meaning the client can go to them versus going to you. An example of this, and I talk about this when I go to the different colleges and speak, is from an entertainment perspective. You don't think that a football game, for instance, or an entertainment company, so say we say a musician or a club, we'll use a club and a restaurant, it's like a sports bar. Maybe again, if the sports bar is closed, people may want to go to another similar environment, so that the competitor to the sports bar could actually be the club and vice versa. So even though again that's indirect competition, there are two different types of businesses, they're still indirect competitors and they service the same clients, the same customers, the same market. So you really have to just pay attention to things like that and be very abstract in your thinking when you're looking at the competitors. Next thing you want to know is how big are my competitors, right? Is there one competitor that's been here for 20, 30 years, in the city that you're in, has been dominating it? Okay, if so, how can you go in and disrupt the market? That's the big thing that entrepreneurs do, and that's what makes entrepreneurs successful, that they disrupt markets. So how do you go in and disrupt the markets of your competitors? That's one of the things you have to look at. And if they're big competitors, how can you do that effectively to take over some of the market share that they have? The next thing is where your competitors located. You see it sometimes where you see gas stations like a BP and a Shell. You may see those across the street. That's because those are multinational corporations. Billions of dollars in those companies. They're not startups. So may not be the best idea to open the exact same thing across the street from the exact same thing. So if you're opening a lemonade stand and it's an existing lemonade stand there, don't go open a lemonade stand right across the street from or within a 3-mile radius maybe, because you may oversaturate the market depending on the industry that you're in. The last thing is how much market share do they have? So this is where, again, you have to get really, really creative in determining how much of the market do my competitors own. So that's the market feasibility. Again, the most important part of the motel analysis, and it's oftentimes overlooked. And here are the 3 things you should take into consideration there. All right, so next we'll talk about the operational feasibility. So operations are defined as the business activities that a firm engages in to convert materials into finished products or services and then sell them to customers and earn a profit. What does that mean? This is the nuts and bolts of the business. I used the lemonade stand example previously. So this is how you get the cup, put the ice in the cup, squeeze the lemons, pour the lemon juice in the cup, put the sugar in the cup, get that cup and then transfer it to your customer and get your customer to pay for it. All right. Take that payment in the financial system or whatever type of point of service system that you have and close the deal. So from beginning to the end, to the point that the sale is complete and the customer has moved on or they repeated the cycle. That's what the operations is. So that's why I kind of use this graphic over here on the left hand side, which is, people building. These are the nuts and bolts and everything put together is the operations. In the operational piece, there's not really a right or wrong way because a lot of it's going to depend on your specific business. But the 4th key thing you want to look at is 1, the processes. So this is the development and creation of the products and services. So if you remember in the definition, operations defined as the business activities that a firm engages to convert the materials, right, into the products or services. So you want to look at the process and the creation of those products and services in your business and understand the cost associated with every aspect here. Next is the staffing. These are the staffing processes and then what can be automated. So do you need a staff member to stand and hold ice? And do you need a staff member to stand and hold cups? Can one person put ice in the cup, blah, 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 and then serve, one a client, or does it take two people to make that cup of lemonade? The next piece is the automation of the staffing. So is there a machine that will dispense a cup and put ice in it, and all we have to do is pour lemonade in it? If that's the case, that's a cost savings, and that's something that you need to take into consideration in your business, is that, hey, maybe I need to invest in that specific machine because it's going to increase my productivity. Next is the location. So are you choosing a virtual location or a brick and mortar? So I know virtual and e-commerce may be the same, but let me just make sure I clarify here. The Height Effect, for instance, is a virtual location. So we have basically work from home, and then we also have office space in Buckhead. We're not an e-commerce business, so you can't go on our site and purchase stuff specifically. One of our clients, Golden Barbie Hair, for instance, is an e-commerce all natural human hair company. And they provide hair extensions, wig units for cancer patients, etc. They're e-commerce. I mean, you can go on, purchase what you need on their site. Then lastly, you have brick and mortar, and these are the brick and mortar means literally a building, right? So these are the companies that have a building. So with your model, what makes sense? Can you be virtual? If you're going to do a lemonade stand, it's pretty hard to do virtual unless you're doing delivery lemonade. E-commerce, okay, people order lemonade on your site, but how are they going to get it? And then there's some logistical things you have to work out there. Or brick and mortar. Okay, this makes the best sense for the lemonade stand example to be a brick and mortar business. So they'll have to look into the location and all the aspects and cost of the location when they're evaluating the operational feasibility of their business. Next, and the most important, again, I've said cost several times throughout this presentation, but these are the operational expenses, the operational costs. You want to look at your startup cost, right? Which are all the costs you need to essentially open your doors. And then additionally, look at your working capital. Working capital is the money, it's essentially 6 months of all your expenses. That's like the industry standard. So you want to make sure that you're able to pay for 6 months of your business expenses. That's every expense. And that's the working capital money you should use, because if for whatever reason sales died down, sales stopped, etc., you need to be able to pay people and continue to operate your business while you're pivoting or doing what you need to do. And then lastly, again, expenses. And this is literally any expense related to the operations of your business. So I know we're halfway through this presentation, and I just want to say again, please, if you can, just share this link again as many times as you can, and just so we can get more people on here. I see there's a couple of shares on Facebook, so thank you all for doing that. We'll keep going with up to 5 people. All right, so next is the technical feasibility, is where you look at the technical requirements of the business. Now, some businesses may not require many technical requirements, but some may require a lot. And these technical requirements include software and hardware. So we're talking about any type of app that you use, if you use any web-based software or hardware. So any type of physical type of things that you need. So we'll go through the breakdown of this. So the first thing you'll look at is what are the software and hardware requirements necessary for the client's business to begin operations, right? So a customer relationship management system, or a CRM, Salesforce is what this is. HubSpot is another one. This is a system that houses your customers. They're so robust now that you can do so many things. I mean, they have the capabilities to send automated emails to the customers. You can set up different chains with the specific CRM, so where they'll send you a chain email. So they'll automatically follow up with the customer based off of where they are within your specific sales cycle. Next is the point of service system. So that's the system that you're using to actually collect the money from your customers. Company emails, which is pretty standard. A lot of people stick with Gmail. Oftentimes I see a lot of clients that want the company emails. It does add a little more legitimization when you have an email domain that is the same as your company's website, which is again the next part, the website, which is a huge consideration. And I think all businesses should have a website, because it's the first place your clients are going to go after they go to social media. And then next is some proprietary software. So is there any specific software that needs to be built for your company that is proprietary to your company? When you're looking at all these different things from the software and hardware perspective, you also want to take in again cost. When I speak at colleges, I tell all the business students that I'm speaking to, If you ever get in a business class and you need an answer to a question you don't know, just say cost, and 99% of the time you're going to be right. And it's kind of a joke, but the reality is, as a business executive, you're always looking at costs because everything has a cost in relation to your business, and you have to keep the cash flow flowing through your business. And companies get, again, in some very, very bad situations. Another example, back to the example earlier of Toys R Us, they filed for bankruptcy. So that's a prime example of how cost affected them. So definitely always keep cost in mind. But again, you want to look at the cost associated with the software and or the hardware that are required for your business. Next, what is the number of necessary units for a software? For instance, how many specific, this is kind of wouldn't directly pertain to the software, the number of necessary units. But for the hardware, for instance, if you're a restaurant, how many cutting tables do you need, right? How many dishwashing machines you need? How many refrigerators and freezers do you need? These are the number of units that are necessary, and you have to document this. Next is, do the necessary technical requirements need to be built or obtained? Okay, so is there any type of build out that you need to do in terms of the physical business of your brick and mortar? Maybe, maybe not. From a software perspective, is there a software build? Do you have a business where you have to have a software that has to be built from scratch by a coder prior to operations? If so, what are the costs of that? Another thing, if you do build the software, can the build be performed in-house? So do you have a technical person on your team that's able to jump in and build the software that you need? Or are you going to have to partner and give 50% of your company away or 20% of your company away to partner with somebody to build it? Or are you going to have to raise money to build it? Those are definitely things that you have to take into consideration. And then if obtained, where will they be obtained from? So again, this is saying if you have to obtain these technical requirements, where are you going to get them from? So an example of that is, say I didn't have an in-house tech person, we needed a proprietary software that was going to help our business operate to get that done, and how much is that going to cost? Maybe I call a coding company, a software company, a software development company, and say, hey, I want you all to build this for me. Okay, where is it going to be obtained from, and how much is it going to cost? What you have to take into consideration here. Next is, how long will it take for the technical requirements to be built or obtained? In 2016, for example, I was pitching for a healthcare company. We had to raise $2 million to get our software built. And it would have taken probably 6 months just to get the MVP, or minimally viable product, out. It would have taken several more years to actually get it fully functional to where we want it. And then of course, there's always going to be continuous enhancement and updates to the software, but it was going to take a tremendous amount of time and money. So that's just something we had to take into consideration. Okay, it's going to take us 6 months just to build it. So I'm going to need to get a salary for 6 months at least, right, while this is being built. And that's including my salary and all of the associated staff salary. So just, again, take that into consideration here with the technical requirements. Next, are there any patents that need to be obtained for the built technical requirements? So if you do build a software with a company and you outsource that functionality, what type of patent, who owns the creation of that? Does the software company own it? I have seen it in examples where software companies still own the rights to whatever they build. Or if you build it in-house and you brought in somebody, you brought in a partner, you have a technical resource, does that technical resource own the software? Or is it built in your agreement where the company, the LLC or the corporation or S corp, whatever type of entity you have, does the entity own the software? So again, take that into consideration, know about the patents, and now also any trademarks or different type of copyright things, just depending on the business you're in. Really take this part into consideration. Lastly, with the motel analysis, and I put this in big bold, and I hope if Gabe, if you're on G. Anthony Hall, definitely shouting you out here, man. Consult with an attorney. We have even on our website, that we have special relationships with attorneys. We are not attorneys, but we can tell you a few things to look at and take into consideration, and it'll also help make your attorney's job easier once they begin to work with you. So always consult with an attorney. Always have a relationship with at least one attorney. We have multiple attorneys. There are 3 key ones that we use on a consistent basis, but we definitely consult with an attorney for this piece if you're doing it on your own. But in terms of the legal considerations, so what are the what type of legal entity best fits your needs? So do you need to have a sole proprietorship? Do you need to have a partnership? Is a corporation what you need? Is it S corp or a C corp. So those are some of the pieces that you need to look into. I always, recommend the LLC just because I love the model. I love the limited liability pieces, and then from the tax purposes, it's really beneficial. But again, there are multiple parts of the legal entity that you'll need to look into in terms of determining what type of entity best fits your needs. Because again, depending on how much you make, depending on the way you do your taxes, this is gonna be determined a lot. So definitely too, I would talk to a CPA here, depending on your financial situation, to determine what's the best type of legal entity that fits your needs. Number two, are the operations of the business legal? So this is a funny one, but the reality is a lot of people try to start businesses and are doing things that are illegal. Maybe not knowing, sometimes they are knowing, and they still try to start it anyway. But again, if the operation of your business is not legal, meaning you can't tell your grandma what you do, then you probably don't need to do it. Another thing is, from a geographic perspective, you may be in an area where the legality of your business is challenged. An example of that is if we wanted to open a marijuana dispensary in Atlanta, Georgia right now, or anywhere in Georgia right now, you couldn't do it. Now, of course, you could do it in California, all these other places, but you couldn't do it in Georgia yet. Another example of this is we had a company we work with. The city that they were trying to work in had certain water restrictions, so they actually had to change and work in a different location because of the water restrictions in that area. So again, these are the considerations that you need to take into from whether or not the operations of the business is legal. And again, those are just two examples. Next, will the business have partners? So the reason this is key, and we'll touch on it in a minute, is because everything needs to be in writing with your business. One, it's very professional to do that. Two, everything seems fine when it's in the honeymoon, but when money gets involved and things start growing and things start changing or things start happening, good or bad, maybe somebody dies, unfortunately. Those are all the things that if you have partners and you say yes, you have partners, you'll need to have an operating agreement in place. Again, I advise people don't even really start working until you have an operating agreement in place. Trust is good, and the handshake used to be a great thing, but I'm just letting you know I am pro compliance, pro attorney, and I'm telling you, definitely just get an operating agreement in place. And also, once you get to the point of needing capital, if you have 3 or 4 partners and you go to an investor, you might have the best idea in the world and say, hey, we don't have an operating agreement though, we've just been operating out of trust, we haven't had any issues. The investor's gonna say, oh, okay, no. So, and you have to have an operating agreement to work with investors. So that's just, again, something to really take into consideration, is the operating agreement piece if you do have business partners. And when I say business partners, these are people who, again, have ownership of the business, right? So they own a piece of the business with you. The last thing and this kind of relates to the operations piece of the business, but the geographic legalities is taken into consideration. So again, trying to open a marijuana dispensary in Georgia might not work now, maybe in a few years, but not now. Or trying to have a car wash in a certain area that has water restrictions or different water laws there may not be a good idea. These are just the legal cost considerations. So depending on the type of business and how how many people are involved in the business, some of the things you may have to look at is a name reservations, about $25. I've never done it, but you can do it if you want to lock the name in prior to getting the entity establishment. So you set up an LLC, a partnership, a corporation, the employee identification number, so the EIN. This is what's necessary for the bank account. Always keep your expenses separate and ensure that you're operating within compliance here. The operating agreement, which we talked about, that outlines the different owners and the relationship of the owners as in relation to the business. Non-disclosure, so there's secrets that need to be kept and things that don't need to be said. Patents, trademark registration, and IP. So this is all related to anything like any of the software that's created, for instance, or there's certain processes. Is there music if it's a music company? Next, terms of service and privacy policy. So it's like some of the stuff you have in your website, and this is different terms of serve your business. And then last, the city business licenses. Some cities require that you have licenses. For some certain types of businesses, you need a license. So we've gone through the presentation. We're 41 minutes. We made amazing time. So now we're at the Q&A. I'm gonna look. I don't know if any questions came through because I can't see the chat. But are there any questions? And if so, I'll look in the I'll look in the group chat and see if my team sends me any from ones that they saw. And again, thank you all for joining. I can't see who all is on. All right, questions. And I have the live chat open as well. Okay, so we have one just sent. Do I need a business partner to start a business? No, you don't. So great question. To whoever asked it. So no, you don't need a business partner to start a business. And I say that, but then I add the but. It depends on the type of business you're starting. So a couple of years ago, when I was starting my tech company, I was going to essentially raise the money and then pay a company to build it for me. I was advised by a very senior and prominent entrepreneur in the tech space to partner with a tech resource, a person that can code, and then make that person my partner. I didn't do that, but in retrospect, he was 100% right. It would have been a brilliant idea. Sorry about that. It would have been a brilliant idea for me to, again, get a tech partner, because that way I would have been able to, have the software built at a lower cost to me, a lower direct cost to me, that is. So that's the question. So do you need a partner? It really just depends on your specific situation. Next question, why do I need to pick a certain demographic of people? Why is that important? That's another great question. So if you're a prime example of that marijuana thing, I know it's kind of funny, but realistically, there's a reason that the marijuana is legal in California and in certain states out west that are most of the time more liberal than in why it's not legal here in Georgia yet, because Georgia is the Bible Belt. So again, the demographics just did not work for that specific industry, for that specific political fight or moral fight, whatever you want to call it. So again, those are the kind of things that you need to take into consideration in terms of the demographic. Also, you don't want to market to everybody, because everybody's not your client. Everybody's not your target audience. A lot of people say they have great ideas. I have great ideas, and I know I can target everybody, and I want to get get 1 million people, blah, 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 blah. But the reality is those 1 million people, one, is it really sustainable? So can you really reach 1 million people and then be able to effectively, provide the appropriate level of services to those 1 million people? So there's just some of the things that you can take into consideration there in terms of the demographic, is that everybody's not in your target audience, and everybody doesn't need to be in your target audience. Okay, you've heard of a SWOT analysis. What is it? Why should you use it? How will it benefit me? So the SWOT analysis is the thing that we do when we have our initial consultation with our clients. And before I go into that, I'll just pause. So this entire presentation you just saw, this is the motel analysis at a high level. So this is exactly what our company does, and we sell. You can go on our website and you can see the price there. We just changed it. So I think it's $1,100 now, but you can go on our website and see it there. We've done several of these in several different industries, and what we do is we provide you a comprehensive document. All right, so multiple pages of paperwork where we evaluate every single aspect I just went over today, and then that also includes the legal portion, so you get a legal opinion essentially of your business from the law office of G. Anthony Hall. And I hope I said that right, sir, if you're still on. But again, so back to the SWOT analysis, before we go through this process with clients, if we do this particular thing, the motel analysis, you may do a SWOT analysis. And this is something you can do on your own. But a SWOT analysis, SWOT, stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And those are the things you have to look at. You can Google a SWOT analysis, and it'll give you a breakdown, kind of similar to what I gave you all today. But definitely do the SWOT analysis. You do it for different projects within the business. So you have a different market that you're entering, or different, maybe even a product that you're about to put out, or you can do it on your overall business. So that's what a SWOT analysis is. And then how will it benefit you? It'll give you a realistic picture of where you are. You have to be very, non-biased when you're filling out the SWOT analysis and when you're completing it. So just make sure that, you're taking the information that you gain from that SWOT analysis and really applying it to your business. Who should I hire for my startup team? That is a great question, man. Miko, whoever is sending these questions to you, oh my goodness. So with that, again, it depends. It depends on the model. It depends on where your business is in the process, in the life cycle. Who you need for your team would be the first question I would ask. It's like, what do you need to get your product developed? Can you do it on your own? Okay, if so, how long can you sustain that? And then what is the next stage of growth for your business? Okay, and then once you've evaluated that, that's how you can kind of start determining who the next people that you need to bring on. All right. So if the next stage of your of growth for your business is to grow and expand, your existing market, there may be some in the job that you do with something that you can train somebody on, doesn't require certain certifications or professional licenses or anything like that. Then hey, that next you may be the next best person for your business. But again, if you're building a technical business and you're essentially trying to raise money on your own, kind of like how I was doing, the next person for my business at that time would have been a technical resource. And we're 48 minutes, so we have like 12 minutes left. Are there any more questions or anything you all would like me to specify for you all? And I see 5 people on. I'm not sure who the 5 people are, but I don't care. Thank you all for joining and sitting through our presentation. We plan on doing a lot more of these. Again, if you didn't hear the news today, we posted it. We had about 350 views, but at the time. But there would be a partnership with the Power Hub and the Height Effect. Let's see. How do you know an investor is the right investor? Great question. That's from Ed Moore, one of our clients, long-term clients actually. So how to investor? That's a very personal decision. I have a lot of people that I talk to, a lot of peers that I talk to who've raised millions and hate the investors that are on their team. Like literally have said they hate the investors that are on their team, because what you have to realize is that when you bring on an investor, that investor is a part of your team. They are now your business partner. Even though you may see them every quarter, you might see them, once every 6 months, they're still a part of your team. So you have to really understand that, hey, I'm gonna have to deal with this person for a long time. Because there's reality that they could be there for a very, very long time, especially depending on how your operating agreement is set up that defines, how the investors operate and work within the business. That's something that you definitely have to take into consideration. So like I said, it's a personal thing. It's a personal fit type issue in my experience. So you have another one. How do I find and convince investors to invest in my products? Many, many, many ways. You can come to the Height Effect. Of course, I'm going to throw that out there. We have relationships with different investors and investment teams that we can partner you up with. Next thing, you can just Google it. So Atlanta is like a startup, a tech and healthcare hub. Literally it's entrepreneurial center. Entrepreneurship center, entrepreneurship capital in Atlanta. He said, you don't need another wife. You're right, Ed. You don't need another wife. So take that into consideration, because the people that invest in your company, again, they're going to want to be your wife. They're going to want to be right there. They want to know everything about the business. So just to let you all know how the structure works, the board determines, and the investors, depending on the type of investor they are and the type of ownership they have, whether they have preferred versus common stock. And I can do getting things in writing. Yeah, getting things in writing is key. You're absolutely right. So that comes from the attorney. You all saw that. But again, depending on the type of investor that you have, that's going to determine the influence and the decisions that they can make in your business. And essentially, your investors can come in and take over your business. You see it all the time. You saw it with Steve Jobs and Apple. Again, when he was fired as the CEO of the company that he built, all those things can happen. I'm not gonna get into that. I may do a video about that later, and we can get into like the breakdown of the financial pieces. And I think that'll be pretty cool. But again, be very careful and make sure that you're making the right decision and meeting with the right investors. Don't be afraid to go outside of your current area. I know when I was pitching in 2016, all the angel investors I was talking to were all in the Atlanta area, in which looking at it in retrospect may have been a mistake. I may should have gone to places like Buffalo, New York, maybe out to Silicon Valley and just some of the other areas that are prominent for investing. How much equity should I offer investors? That depends on the value of your business and a lot of other factors. How much of your business you want to give away. Previously, I was wanting to give away about I think 30% was the max. But we'll talk about that really quickly. You have 100% of your business today, for example, of a lemonade stand. If you go out and say you're going to give 25% of your business away for X amount of dollars, that's essentially determining what the valuation of your business is. So let's say, for instance, you say you have a business is worth $1 million, right? 25% of that $1 million business is $250,000. That means if an investor came in and gave you $250,000 and you gave them in return 25%, you were essentially saying that your business is worth $1 million. You might say 25%, that's small. I still have 75%. But what happens in a year when you grow and you get that major deal and you need to now you get a deal with I don't know, Walmart, and now you need a lemonade stand in every Walmart in America, and you need to raise this time. Okay, well, now you're going to have to get a bigger percentage. So that's one of the things you have to take into consideration, why you want to hold on to that equity at the beginning, because you get down the road and you're going to need the equity in the long term. One of my mentors always tells me, one day, you'll own a business, you'll own, what did he say, 30% of a business and blah, 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 blah. What that essentially means is that over time, your equity is going to go down as your business grows. And depending on how the model is, again, and if you decide to go with investors, your business is you're going to need more money, and you're going to need more money to grow, which means you're going to have to give up more percentage. So, you could get 5 years down the road, again, only own 30% of your business. Well, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's just letting you know that you have to be cautious of the percentages. I just saw another question pop up. Best way to find investors? Many, many, many ways. So all through Atlanta, I mean, there's Atlanta Tech Village has events. There's HQ, or not HQ, IQ, up in Kennesaw. So there's all these different types of incubators and entrepreneurship hubs where businesses are literally housed. And all of those different places, have that access to those resources, just depending. There's different situations. So sometimes they come in and speak at events. Some of them directly work there and mentor there. So those are some of the ways you can do it. But Google, that's the way I found, some of the pitch competitions that I was in several years ago, was I just Googled them and I found that investors were going to be there. Get plugged into the different entrepreneurship centers around town, any type of funding and entrepreneurship organization. The SBA, Small Business Administration, is huge. And that's, they have a presence everywhere. The SBDC, Small Business Development Center, out of University of Georgia, they have locations everywhere. One in Kennesaw, one in Georgia State, downtown Atlanta. So multiple resources there. And what are other ways to earn money besides invest through investors? That's great. So if you look back, if you think about the operational aspect of the business that we talked about previously, the operations of your business is what will earn you money. That means that how much you're selling your products for and how many of those products that you're selling. That's the other way to get money. A lot of businesses make the mistake early on. They price their products too low, or they are not able to sell enough of their products. Therefore, the operations of their business is not able to keep up and sustain the business. So they find themselves continuously going back and getting loans and going back and getting additional investors. What that does is a couple of things. One, you could be too highly leveraged. Well, that means that you have too many loans. And you may have heard of a leveraged buyouts. When the company comes in, they buys all your debt. So you could, again, lose ownership or affect your business in the wrong way, by the amount of money that you bring in or don't bring in. So that's why, again, it's very, very crucial to make sure that you're validating your business model and that the operations of your business and everything you have with your business, the model and the pricing pieces, you have to make sure that those things are in line in accordance with where you're trying to be long term. So we're at about 7 minutes. Are there any final questions before we go? Again, thank you all for joining. This is our first webinar. We discussed, you have a business idea, but will it work? I'll give y'all like 10 seconds to see if any more questions pop up or anything, and then we'll end it. Okay, well, good stuff. I didn't see any more questions. So, thank you all again for joining. We have all our contact information here. Please feel free to share this. Because you all joined, again, if we have your email address, if you signed up through the email registration, you will receive this presentation. Feel free to use it and distribute it along with this video. I'll post it on our YouTube channel. I want to thank you all again for attending. Great job. Thank you, Mr. Moore. I definitely appreciate your support, sir, and appreciate you as a client. You all be on the lookout for that. I'm telling you, that's the money right there. Is the telecom company, Mr. Ed Moore. So be on the lookout for IQ Telecom's solution. But again, thank you all for tuning in, and we'll have plenty more of these in the future. You all have a great evening. Bye bye.